Welcome to my channel. This series will be about books which I use for my most relaxed coloring. And of course, you know that it's Creative Heaven by T.Goodridge, and that's the artist which I discovered probably 3 years ago, and from that moment I use these books each time when I need indeed to have anti-stress coloring, when I don't need to struggle with colors, where I can select something which inspires me according to the season, where I can switch from landscapes to interior designs to some flower compositions, and even if I sometimes complain about too thick black lines or some perspective errors, still, these books, they are definitely among my favorites in my collection, maybe not because of their beauty by themselves, but because of the pleasure I have each time when I touch them. Honestly, I was slightly shocked when I gathered all of them and I realized how many books by Teresa I actually managed to collect. And I wasn't sure if I need to film all of them today because I made several videos already during autumn season, during summer season, but I actually color a lot in these books, probably 3-4 pictures each month. So I decided that before I totally dive into these books for the winter pictures, I can do a quick review of all my finished pictures so far. And let's start from Main Street. Main Street is one of my favorites among Teresa books. I don't know, I promised myself that maybe I can finish all of pictures here, even if a couple of them are very simple and not totally for my taste. But still, it's a nice idea to have the whole book dedicated to cute places, to the shops and cafe in some charming city. And for now I have several finished pictures here. I won't be talking much about materials which I use here for coloring because mostly I used Prismacolor pencils and Posca pens. Only on a couple of pictures I used something different, like here I used Derwent color softs. And even if picture isn't that bad, still amount of time I used for this one and amount of efforts which I needed for smooth blending, it was much bigger comparing to Prismacolors. So after a couple of attempts to work in her books with color softs, I decided that no, I will stick to my lovely Prismacolor pencils and all the books will be colored in the same way. Sometimes I think that maybe some of these pictures they could be better with marker or watercolor underpaint, but then I think that no, if I color everything with Prismacolors, it's like book illustrated in one style from the beginning to the end. I love to experiment with various colors for the walls of the buildings, for the window frames, for the doors, for all those advertising materials. As I said, some of the pictures they are not so interesting, but if I want to finish the whole book, maybe one day I will color them also for relaxed coloring. Without any big aim to create something special, but to finish the whole book, maybe. I think that because of these books I practiced nicely how to do textures of wood, of glass, of how to color stones, bricks, how to color nice highlights and reflections when we have evening pictures, when we have daytime pictures, how to show it properly. And of course all those textures of metal, terracotta, other things. Some of them are my least favorite, like this one, it's too dark and there are no depths, but some of the pictures are quite nice. Here I practiced how to combine various Prismacolors for getting slightly different color for the bread, cakes, cupcakes, and again nice practice for the wood, which Prismacolor pencils, apart from traditional light amber, you can use if you want to do wood in slightly different color. So I definitely can recommend this book if you like to color interior and exterior designs. So many nice pictures I still need to color. I hadn't colored it during the whole autumn and winter season. I had a break, so now I miss this book a little bit. When I color in it, I slightly changed some of the flower compositions, trying to make them more alive, adding tiny flowers, tiny buds, additional leaves, because sometimes I think that some of the pictures look quite nice, but elements like flowers, they look more simplified, so I try to improve them a little bit. And that's one of my favorite pictures, because as I said, I love to do evening night scenes where you can work on shadows, reflections and highlights, when you can show this warm yellow color coming from inside of all those shops. Next one will be another one of my favorites, and it's Country Charm. If you want to purchase just one book by Teresa, I think that I would recommend Country Charm, because it has some seasonal pictures, interior and exterior designs. Well, that's another one of my attempts to use Derwent color softs. Not so bad, but again, they are far from perfect. To apply and to blend on this paper, it's too smooth, so sometimes shading with dark colors can look slightly dirty, but when you color a lot, you sometimes want some slight challenges, some slight changes. That's why I tried to switch to another pencil brand, but now I stick to my Prismacolors. That's one of my recent works, and I decided to turn it not into the winter but into autumn picture because of all those pumpkins. Here I slightly changed these flowers. I also struggle a lot with trees and leaves in the books by Teresa. For me, they always look a little bit bold and slightly little bit too big in size. But when I got my sets of acrylic markers, I started to add additional elements to change their shape, so they started to look slightly better. Here another one of my recent works where I try to do a rainy day. That's an old one, and I selected it because I absolutely love to color those hydrangea flowers. When I saw them on Teresa pictures, I immediately selected for the picture to color. Here, evening scene, I can say that this one is perfect, but still I try to calculate carefully where will be highlights from this candle, from the light inside of the window, so on the window frame, on the bench, on the table here. It's a little bit like resolving small puzzle. As I said, you can find here seasonal pictures. Here again I would say that I experimented on the roof, more unusual than I usually do in her books, and I added a little bit of pink to the sky to make it more tender, to make it like nice fresh spring picture. And I added a lot of flowers here. I really want to do this one, but maybe somewhere in February. I think that this one is more for the fall season, and here again I loved everything, especially the windmill, this landscape, but these leaves, well, I'm not a fan of their shape. Here one of the few works where first I did a watercolor underpaint, mostly to cover all the huge areas of green and to save my precious green pencils, and then on top of it I added more shading, some contrasts, here shadows from the plants and trees and all those garden tools. And of course I try to color all pictures with watering cans. It's an old work, but I'm still proud of it. First, because of the steam coming from the train, it was challenging, and also because I really tried hard to show that rays of late autumn sun are coming from the branches and leaves of those high trees. I decided to make trees already with more reddish leaves and those rays of light. I think that I managed to do at least similar to what I imagined myself for this page. Well, that was one crazy experiment again when I wanted to try some new color combo for the roof. But here I do love how I did leaves. I added more leaves from myself, then I started to blend bigger amount of shades of green to get more realistic look. I started to add darker colors for more intense shadows between groups of the leaves, and I hope that step by step leaves in my books they will look more realistic. Here again autumn scene where I slightly failed to do ripple on the surface of the water and proper reflections. Maybe they still lack nice contrast between shadows and highlights, but apart from it, I do love this very calm landscape. I do love this wooden texture which we have on the foreground. And that's another one of my favorites, maybe because I do love this faded blue turquoise color for the fans, together with bright red and orange colors which I selected here for the napkins, for the towel on the table, and then all those pottery. I decided to make them like from different materials. This one is metal, so I tried to show that in the metal surface there are reflections from the both neighbors. This one maybe it's made from a white china, so surface is also glossy and it has reflections of all those bright colors around. And this one maybe it's terracotta probably, and of course watering can. I absolutely love to color them. I don't know why. I remember that it was a pleasure to do it somewhere in the beginning of the spring season, when I also start to think about all my gardening plants, what I need to put into the new pots, which seeds I want to purchase. So this was quite inspiring. You can see that in Country Charm I did a lot of pictures, and that's another one of the books which maybe I can finish one day. But still a lot of work ahead of me. My next favorite is Country Kitchen Charm. It's one of the relatively new books. Here I managed to do just a couple of pictures so far, but I definitely want to color much more. I did in November this vegetable scene with interesting bluish color for the furniture. I think that I wanted to do this Provence country style kitchen with blue furniture for a long time, and finally I found a perfect picture for it. And second, it's also for the fall season with very bright pumpkins. Just need to find it. As usual, here you can see that I experiment a lot with different colors of walls, wallpapers, all those tiles, and of course slightly different color for the wood. Maybe it's not visible, but still I try to use different combos of Prisma colors together with pens, sometimes together with polychromes, to know which pencil combos I can use for slightly different hues for the different woods. Well, that was nice, and here I used a lot of markers, both Artex and Tule Art and Posca, because I do love to outline and to mask black lines on the botanical compositions. Here I definitely look forward to all those cupboards. Then I do love pictures where we have baking equipment, and also a picture with this kind of jars, and also with this one. I don't know, but it's definitely one of my favorites. It looks simple, but I look forward to doing all those home plans. My favorite is thyme. I do love to use it for all my dishes. Next, it's a village charm. And what I have here. This is a very bright ice cream shop. Of course, the biggest fun I had when I tried to imagine what flavors of ice cream I have here and trying to find some new color combos. So we have like maybe a blackberry, strawberry, peach, ice cream, mint. It was definitely quite fun. And I think that yellow also created some interesting feature on this page. I didn't make many pictures with a lot of yellow color, so it was a nice difference. Here I have this very peaceful scene for the wooden cottage. Again, good practice for the wooden surfaces, but also on shading. I try to show that rays of sun are coming through the balustrade between the columns. Then I tried to show that color of the chairs started to fade a little bit, so they look like old wooden chairs with slightly peel-off paint. And then this peaceful landscape. Most of all, I love that we have here the lighthouse. This book is a little bit difficult for me because I still don't know how to color water with pencils in a realistic way. Well, I don't know how to color water with watercolors also, but that's another thing. And in this book we have a lot of water pictures, but you can see that I mostly select pictures with more like traditional scenes. Of course, I needed to color this one when autumn started. I think that it was this September work. It was fun again to color all those vegetables, and my set of Posca pens where I have pastel natural colors, it was very helpful here. This one I did for my birthday. I think that quite appropriate because I love to have a lot of baked goods for my birthday. And again, I tried to show those cakes in slightly different colors. Maybe chocolate, maybe some honey, then some with covered by some ice. Anyway, it was fun because when I color I actually imagine what kinds of flavors those cakes they have, and I think that when I selected blue color for the walls it created nice design and nice contrast to all those warm edible colors which I used here on the foreground. Country Gardens. It's a nice book, but sometimes I feel overwhelmed by all those thick black lines. As I said, I prefer to mask black lines, especially on the leaves and flowers. And I also dislike this shape of the leaves. For me, they are, well, much more simplified, and those butterflies also. When we have part made in quite a realistic way, but some part I'm not a big fan of. So here I didn't color as much as I wanted to, but some of the pictures are really good, as this outer stove. Again, here it was fun to calculate all those highlights from the fire inside and from these outer lanterns on the surface of the stones, then of the furniture around, and on the rose bush. Another one, here I simply had a lot of fun with all my shades of green in Prismacolor set. I am sure that I used each and every green pencil available. Next one, it was spring coloring. What can I say, apart from the huge usage of my Posca pens to outline all these flowers, and I tried to work on the contrast, a lot of pastel colors and then some of the bright elements like this foxgloves and of course the sunflowers. Next one I did it a couple of years ago, again for my birthday, so it's kind of birthday party. That's picnic. I think that I did already several picnic pictures in Teresa books. She put similar pictures in many of her summer, spring, autumn books, but probably this one is one of my favorites. I do love how I did texture and shading on the basket, and here we have a lot of primary colors, yellow, blue, red and white. It always worked quite well. I also think that here I finally managed to do more or less realistic glasses with wine inside and grape. Well, I had a lot of good memories about this one. My other picnic pictures, they are not as good. This was summer coloring, and I tried to add also something from myself to some of the plants which we have here. Slightly changed color of the leaves, changed shape of the flowers, additional berries here to make it even more colorful. It was already colorful when I started to add those details, but now it's extremely colorful. Well, it's simple, but that's what I call for myself relaxed coloring. When I color things which I know how to color, when I use Prismacolor pencils, and all I need just to enjoy and to make it as colorful as possible. This one was a good practice how to color terracotta, how to do wood, how to do metal. Sometimes I love how she draw flowers like this one or those berries. Sometimes I don't know how to color some of the varieties of them. I can't color her daffodils in realistic way, but then I was thinking that it's okay. I don't have to do everything in more realistic way. Oh, I missed such a beautiful picture with huge watering can. I definitely will do it during the spring. So it's a nice book, but maybe here we have quite similar pictures to one another, so I do some breaks between pictures here. In Country Charm we have interior, exterior designs, and here slightly lesser variety in pictures. Oh no, this one I definitely won't be doing. All those leaves, flowers, no, definitely. But I have so many pictures by Teresa that I can color only her books, and I will be still full of work until for the next year. Well, Home Sweet Home. I have mixed feelings towards this one. Some of the pictures are nice, some I don't think that I won't be doing. I am not a big fan of coloring animals in her books. I somehow always manage to color them in the same way. They look all totally identical. But some of the pictures are quite nice. Again, we have mix of interior and exterior designs. So maybe slowly I will be coloring something here. But my favorite picture, which I selected as my first project here, I already did, and I am quite proud of the result. Again, many textures like plastic, metal again, this glass vase, how to do milk and oil. It was challenging, it was fun, so I think that I managed to do it with everything, with all my skills, all my efforts, which I put into this one. I want to do this one. It's nice Provence style shelves. Well, what I have here. This one, I don't know why I did this one. It wasn't very inspiring. Maybe I wanted to try to color this furniture covered with velvet, how to show properly these textures. Well, anyway, now I like how it looks. Yeah, it definitely has some interesting pictures here, interesting idea with the view from inside to outside. I need to color it. And that's another one of the autumn pictures. I think that I did it last year, and it was one of my first successful attempts how to show rain outside the glass properly. First, I was afraid that I overdid a little bit with all those drops of water, but now I think that it nicely represents heavy rain and very cozy atmosphere inside of the kitchen. Well, I never color pictures like this, but you can see that still amount of my collected books it's huge, and amount of pictures I still want to color it's also huge. Next we move to Wish You Were Here. Here I don't have a lot of colored pictures, but I intend to work on it more during next year. Here again my struggle with water. I know basics what I need to do, like reflection from the board, some highlights in the central part of the canal of the channel, so then reflections of all those buildings, shadow beneath the bridge, but somehow when I start to color it looks a little bit messy, but I try once again and once again. Here I have slightly different color combo for the water, and here I try to show some waves and foams on top of them, but of course here I mostly concentrated on the fantasy looking sky. I think that I copied this color palette somewhere from pictures by Kincaid, together with those magenta and pink colors for the trees. Well, I think that it worked well, but mostly because I love all pictures with lighthouses. Here I experimented with adding some markers. Well, you know that I'm not a fan when we have those marks, but sometimes it's much easier and quicker to color with a marker than with pencils. And here amount of flowers and leaves, it was overwhelming. And I wouldn't call this one a successful page. Maybe I was a little bit carried away with a white marker to outline flowers to make them colorful. I don't know, something is missing here, but the architecture details of the houses, I do love how I did stones here, how they have some similar and some different colors, and those blue doors, it also adds to the atmosphere, but these flowers, well, it was too much. That's another one which I love. I love to color trains, and I colored already several in Teresa books. This one I decided to turn into early fall picture, so some of the trees started to change color of the leaves. Most of all, I enjoyed doing this bridge with interesting texture of bricks, stones here. Here, fortunately, water, it was just a small area, so I think that I managed to do it in normal way. And I decided to do quite unusual color for the sky to show that it's probably evening atmosphere. And finally I have this a lake town. Again, struggle with waves. I know that waves on the lake, they have to be quite calm without huge hate. So here I try to show those reflections, shadows, but still it looks not very realistic. But apart from it, I enjoy doing this one. Here I really love this flower composition, and it was fun to color all those buildings, which I divided into a couple of color groups. So you can see that I continue to practice. I hope that one day, when I will be able to do these beautiful pictures, other couple of pictures which I absolutely love here, I will be more experienced. Next we have her seasonal books. I don't have summer, but I have spring, autumn and winter. Here I have a picture where I do love everything apart from daffodils. I think the tulips, they look okay. I do love how this turquoise blue shaded wood looks together with normal wood and with terracotta flower pots, but these daffodils, I totally dislike them, and the Worst thing, I don't know how to improve them, to cover them completely. I don't know. This one I started when I was totally uninspired by this probably New York landscape, but then when I imagined this fantasy looking sky with bigger amount of additional colors, usually I simply use blue, but here I added yellow, peach, magenta, nectar colors, and it helped me to start this coloring. And then again I liked how I did tulips. Usually they look flat on my pictures, but here it was one of the first successful attempts to make them more three-dimensional, and I was very happy. So the rest of the picture I colored very quickly, and I was very pleased when I finished it. Another one nice page. Of course, you can see that I took a lot of pleasure in imagining different color combos for the flower beds, tulips, daffodils. Here they are small, so it was easier to color them. And interesting work on the different color palette for the bricks here and here. I also added additional flower rows here behind the windmill to make it even more colorful. Here I was inspired by quite famous pictures of Paris cafe, and it has similar color of the window frames and door, and it has huge and very old wisteria tree around the entrance to the cafe. So I copied main colors. It was fun to color this wisteria. I used Prismacolor pencils together with Posca pens, and they helped me to color this tree. Then I added slightly dreamy background using all beautiful Prismacolor pastel pencils. So I think that it's one of my best works in this book. Here again I did love everything until I started to do this water. Well, I tried to show reflections of all those smaller trees and huge tree. I don't know if I managed to do it. In the end I slightly masked everything with these bigger groups of blue flowers to mask areas which I didn't like. But at least I do love my brick work here and here. Well, this one was simple, just nothing to say apart from the normal picture. It was one of my oldest works, and here, apart from the slightly different color which I would be used, sorry, I dropped all my books. So apart from the different colors which I would use now for the garden building, everything else it's okay, even if I feel that the foreground is slightly overwhelming, like on many pictures by Teresa, but at the same time it's fun to color various objects. Here I remember that again I started it because of the watering can. I struggled with those daffodils, then I dropped to color them, trying to somehow change them, but I had a lot of fun with all those bulbs, with the hyacinths and other spring flowers. It was one of the spring collages when you can do part of the page in a very quick way, but I still tried to use some of the colors repeatedly, red here and here, blue here and here, pastel colors here and here, and so in the end it looks quite well balanced. That's another one where I used watercolors first for the huge area of grass, and then I worked with pencils to add individual leaves. Very quick, not very thorough work, but I do love this sheep. Probably that's all for this book. Some of the pictures here I definitely intend to color, some are not so inspiring. And that's another one where some of the pictures, some of the flowers I liked. Here flowers looked more in realistic way, some looked more simplified, more childish. But I did colored it because I loved this area with garden gazebo. And that's another one of the picnic pictures. Here I wasn't happy with the texture on the trees. I even tried to add ink tans to intensify shadows. In the end, I decided to save my trees by adding a little bit of white and pink posca, like tiny flowers for the trees, and it makes them slightly better. And here I realized that I totally don't know how to color a watermelon. Actually, I don't know how to color it in a realistic way even now. Some of the other details like bottle, baguette, they look better, so I am happy. So metal, baguette, wine bottle and a picnic basket, they are not so bad. Now we very quickly will go through the autumn pictures because I did similar video about all my finished autumn pictures just a couple of months ago. So I just want to mention that this one is one of my favorite works. Here I tried to do this misty background with pastel colors for the sky. I imagine that here we have early morning and these delicate colors for the sky. It looks quite nice with all those warm colors of the olive green, ochre, jasmine, sand, then mineral orange colors which I used for the grass and for the leaves. Here I do love to do evening pictures, so I try to color them quite often. That's another one where I struggled a lot with the leaves. I think that apart from the leaves, everything else I absolutely love, and I worked a lot to get this effect of the faded look of the bench and matching color for the window frame. Paint started to peel off and it's mixed between blue and brown colors, but those leaves, they simplified the whole picture, for me at least. Well, this one I did with ink tans, it was fun. Some of the pictures in this book, they are quite suitable for intensity and brightness of Derwent ink tans pencils, but I still prefer Prismacolors. Here we have more simplified picture, more simplified look of the berries, fruits and leaves, so I decided that I can simply color it with bright ink tans and it will be okay. Here I have mix of Derwent drawings for the more calm and muted colors of the grass and ink tans for the rest of the background. Here ink tans again. And that's my second favorite in this book, this scarecrow. I love the ideas of scarecrows and I colored them a lot, but here I remember that how I combined Prismacolor pencils to get this difference in on the hills which are far from us, then this field, then the middle area here behind the fence, then area which is closer to us. So it was challenging, but it was quite fun. And now I discovered for myself that you can actually blend all Prismacolor pencils and you will get beautiful color combos. Because of their softness and ability to blend, you will get beautiful gradients. That was one spooky and fun coloring. Black but slightly greenish cat matching green color inside of the witch house. Simple but nice. Here I tried to work just with watercolors. Colors look slightly faded, but at least I discovered that you can do it. And apart from light buckling, which you can improve with ironing, you can work with watercolors here. Well, that's all for this book. Autumn Charm I definitely love much more comparing to the previous one. So I'm sure that during next fall seasons I will be working here. Here everything else, all pictures, they are quite nice. Unfortunately I managed to drop water which I used for the paint on the upper part of my book. Now it looks better but still slightly buckled. And for now I have here this lantern which I colored in November. I used a lot of paint here to improve shape of the sunflowers, to make a pine tree branches slightly more puffy, more realistic looking. And I am happy how I did this. A wood, something different, not regular brown wood. And here I did this village market, this farm stand. I love the idea of village markets, so I always color pictures if I have such a them in my book. I wanted to do more this fall season, but unfortunately, as usual, I had very limited time. And finally, my winter books. Winter Wonderland, which for a couple of years was my main winter book. So here I have big amount of pictures. Quite often I complain that we have excessive amount of black lines here. So if you want to color here, you definitely will need huge amount of white paint. But still pictures are nice with different subjects. And I think that I will color something here this year. At least I will try. That's another one of the trains which I did. Here steam wasn't as successful as on that autumn picture. That was my first attempt to do steam. But at least here I did nice shadows and highlights on the snow. That was my main purpose for this practice. Somehow I didn't manage to blend smoothly on the sky. I still don't know what was the problem with the paper here. Here my struggle with water, with huge area of the snow. It's very boring. I think that this year I will try to do this one. Challenging but interesting. Well, I don't know, nothing special. Don't have any particular feelings here. Here at least I did unusual color for the sky, and I worked carefully on all shadows on the snow. And of course here I have my favorite Christmas picture, maybe my ever colored favorite Christmas picture. Again, very traditional color combo of red, green and gold. It always works well, and if you carefully calculate all highlights and reflections from the fire on the different surfaces around, it will work well. Here, evening picture, horse. I do love the snowman, very positive. And that's another one which I always want to do. I just need to change the look of this slightly stupid pine trees. But it could be a nice page if you again do bright light inside of the huge toy shop and evening picture atmosphere here. So it could be a nice page, but a little bit challenging to color. This one I colored being inspired by Thomas Kincaid and his usage of lavender and violet for the shadows. Here I used gouache to mask some of the excessive black lines and to do the background. That's another one which I can do quite nice. And that's toy shop where I first applied a little bit of watercolor and then worked with pencils. Enchanted Christmas is not bad, but it's slightly more childish comparing to Christmas Charm, so I intend to color here, but maybe not of all pictures. I'm not sure about pictures in this style, but all those Santa, cars and other pictures with Santa, I will do them. Here I have picture where I even managed to use neo colors for the background. I'm still not sure how I feel about it, but this idea of pastel Christmas, slightly unusual colors, it was fun to do. That's my favorite finished picture here. It was most interesting among all the pictures, and I think that I managed to color it nicely, at least close to what I imagined myself. Here I have my current work in progress. Here I decided to work with color pencils. They are okay on this paper. Maybe not as smooth as Prismacolors, but for the challenge, for something new to try, I definitely glad that I selected colors instead of Prismacolors. Maybe I will do something else in this book, because I do want to color many of the pictures here, so I hope that I will post more videos soon. And I did even this title page. And finally, my favorite Christmas book so far among all Teresa books. Here I want to color everything from the first until the last. This one, it's absolutely amazing. Maybe it will be my next project. I do love these Christmas carolers. Also can be a nice picture. I wanted to do it last year. Here I used Arteza, and Arteza pencils also were not bad. Maybe one of the pictures I can do this year with Arteza also. I do love these botanical compositions like this one, or with skate blades, which we have also in this book, and this beautiful churches and tiny village around. And that's my current work in progress also, but with Prismacolor pencils. Here I have picture. I remember that I did it probably last January, because it's not particularly with Christmas, without Christmas ornaments, Christmas trees. And when I needed to color something winter in January, I found this one, and I think that it worked quite well. Well, I also want to do this one. These cookies, maybe with markers, I don't know. Definitely not until I color all the beautiful scenes which I have here. And here I have Christmas supper. Well, here again I tried to do white lining with reflections of the light from shadows from all the plates and glass seats. Here I was preoccupied by this huge wreath with star. Probably it was too much, but at least I'm glad that I did Christmas ornaments in more unusual colors. I didn't use red and gold because I already used them here for the decoration of the table, so there is a color difference, and at least it didn't mess up. That's another one which I love, and I think that I managed to do everything I imagined to. Very detailed page, so sometimes it's also felt overwhelming, but because of the nice contrast between dark sky, a lot of bright yellow light, white snow, I think everything in the end worked quite well. Well, that's all, and when I looked again at all my Teresa Goodridge pictures, I feel inspired again to do something. I can dedicate all my December only to this Christmas charm, enchanted Christmas book, and I will be happy. So thank you, and I hope that you also love Teresa books. They are very relaxing to color, so I can recommend them. Thank you, and until the next series.